Welcome to UMath. Today we're going to talk about how to find the percent of increase, and this is hooked into lesson number 37 in the text. So to find percent of increase, there actually is a formula, and the formula is as follows. The percent of increase will equal the increase over the original. So let's actually look at a question. Let's keep this down here. It says an iPad was $315 last year, and now it's up to $350. So in order to solve that, if we go back to our formula right here, what you'll need to do, and you will need to do this for every question, is you will need to write this down. The percent of increase equals, and for short, I will let you just put INCR for increase over, and you can put orig for original. So that can be your short form for it. So at this point now we have the formula. You have to write the formula for every question because it will guide you. I know you'll get tired of writing it, but after a while it'll actually hopefully be implanted in your mind where you'll remember it. So here's what we do. We have to show what the increase is now. And in this question, it was $315 last year. Now it's $350, so it's gone up by $35. If you don't know how I got that, it would just be 350 minus 315. So it's increased 35. We put that number on the top. What was the original cost? The original was 315. That's how much it used to be. And at this point, we would divide in order to get the answer for it. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of work, unfortunately. So we go 35 divided by 315. We'll extend this a little bit. Put some zeros down. We'll say, well, 315 goes into 300, or goes into 350, well, into 35 zero times, into 350 once. 1 times 315 is 315. Now we subtract. We get 35. Bring that down. Oh, it looks like we have some repeat. So 1, and that's 315. So we know this is just going to continue on and on, where we get a 35 left over, and then we bring down a 0. So because of that, we know the 11 goes on, or the 1 goes on forever. So because we're actually trying to find a percent, we have just divided here and gotten the decimal. So all we have to do at this point is just convert the decimal to a percent. We know that the tenths and hundredths go to the first two whole numbers of the percent, and now we somehow have to show that the 1 goes on forever. So we put 0.1 repeated. So that would be our answer. That's a little blurry here. Is that any better? Still a little bit fuzzy. Okay, in your textbook or in your workbook, you can see the question they have at the top here. You can see had 18 pairs of shoes. Now they have 21 pairs of shoes. And what you do for that one is, as we've said already, you just start with this formula here. You'd write that down. Percent increase equals increase over original. And then you say, well, what is the increase in this question? Had 18, now it's up to 21, so the increase on top is a 3. The original on the bottom is an 18. And then, rather than just divide this, I would probably reduce this. You could divide by 3, and you'd get 1 over 6, and that's from your chart. And if you remember the chart, this is why I said memorize it so you don't have to divide it, is 0.16 repeated. But once again, we are trying to come up with a percent, because this is the percent of increase. So change this to a percent. The tenths and hundredths become the first two whole numbers of the percent. And we'd show that the 6 goes on forever. So that would be our answer, but they do ask us to round it to the nearest whole percent. So to the nearest whole percent, that would round to 17. Okay, so that would be our answer for it. It's so really fuzzy. Maybe that's a little better. Okay, that's lesson 37. Now lesson 38, good news, is percent of decrease. And it also uses a formula. Surprise, surprise. It looks very, very familiar to the percent of increase. The only thing that's different is the word increase is now decrease. So that should be pretty easy to memorize if you have the percent of increase formula. So let's do a sample question for that. So in doing your question, here it is. We would start off with writing, oops, not a pencil, the percent decrease. I'll let you put DECR dot for short, equals the decrease over the original, just like we did in the other question. So we start with the formula, have to write that down for every question. I know it's a drag, but that's the expectations. You'll memorize it quicker. So we look at this question, say a skirt cost 45, now it's reduced to 30. So how much did it decrease? That's what we put on the top. We know that it went down $15 to do 45 minus 30. So we put 15 on the top. The original was 45. So we could divide, but I wouldn't do that. I would simplify this by reducing. And if you find a common factor, in this case it's 15, you could divide by 15 on the top, and you'd get 1. You divide 15 on the bottom, you'd get 3. That is from our chart again, so you don't have to divide. You know that 1 over 3 is 0.3 repeated. Now that is a decimal. We want a percent. So change that to a percent. The first two whole numbers of a percent go the tenths and hundredths. So because we know those are all 3's, we put 33%. And then somehow we have to show that this 3 goes on forever. So we put dot 3 repeated. Okay? So that would be lesson 38 for the percent of decrease. Start with your formula, put down your numbers, do division or simplify if you can. Some questions you can, some you can't. You have to actually do the long division. So that is all you need to do for percent of increase and percent of decrease.